Welcome to the season finale of Rush Mode. My name's Rad.
Matt.
We're doing a kind of a special episode today. Instead of three topics, we're doing four topics, and they're topics we each chose specifically instead of choosing randomly. So, getting to our first topic today, it is about the zombies labs. So, back in Black Ops 1, before Moon came out, there was two trailers released. They were live action trailers. It was kind of about this group known as the Zombie Labs that it seems like they were testing wonder weapons, kind of studying zombies to see, how well they fight, I suppose. There was a part with I remember there's a Nova Crawler as well. Um and I mean that could have been just taken as like a fun joke trailer, but then apparently in classified in one of the Pack Punch skins, you actually see the logo reappear. So seems like they're canon. So Matt, what do you think their purpose was, and do you think that they should be taken as canon?
Uh, I guess I would say they're probably like either the stand-in for Broken Arrow or like some subsection of it, like maybe like a I guess like a biological weapons. Because initially when the trailer came out, yeah, it was just like for funsies and kind of shits and giggles, but it does seem what they're doing kind of aligns with the events of Classified and Alpha Omega, especially as we get more about Broken Arrow and how, in the initial trailer for Zombie Labs, they talk about like discovering a zombie population on the moon, and then what is it? We find out that they found out about that what like the 60s, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it makes me think.
I do wonder if like maybe I'm sure Schuster probably told them before that, so like
Yeah,
probably
so
like when he got hired or whatever. So they maybe they were preparing even earlier than that, for all we know.
definitely. I mean, I think we have like what would probably be the Majestic 12. I still believe that they became Broken Arrow. I would say the Zombie Labs might not even be like a group on their own. It's just to me it could just be the like R&D for maybe like bio, like maybe they created the denizens and the bios or something like that. That they were the side of Broken Arrow that investigated like the effects of 115 on like biological entities or something like that. Like that
Right.
that seems to be the case. Because it just seems a little weird that although I guess we have to go back and watch the trailer to see if there's anything like anachronistic, right? I don't think there's anything super high tech in it. I mean, aside from like the wonder weapons, but it seemed to me that yeah, you could just place it as it's just Broken Arrow doing Broken Arrow things.
All right. Yeah. I think I personally would place it before Broken Arrow.
Hmm.
Maybe a little bit before, because yeah, like you said, it does kind of fit the kind of classified era. Um, because I think this could even fit in with the theory about Majestic 12 being kind of a precursor. I think Broken Arrow was like, Purnell's way of combining a bunch of different side departments and divisions within like the government to kind of into one thing focused on everything 115, and they've got all the resources. It was
Yeah,
like they would get their 115 from Groom Lake. Hanford had like their own experiments. Pentagon had their own experiments going on there, but the teleporter and all that. Um, and then there would be Majestic 12, obviously, and then there would be the zombie labs, like training soldiers and studying stuff about the zombies, like their bodies and stuff, and the Nova Crawlers. It was all
yeah.
kind of a big, like, all over the place, and Purnell's idea was to bring that all together. Also, it
Because
seems like the zombies lab's pretty poorly run, considering how many accidents they had.
yeah, I mean that's a part of the gags, but I guess there's probably more truth to that when you think about it. I it does seem like the zombies labs, it's not they're not their own organization. That's kind of like it seems like the vibe I get that they're just it is some small subsidiary type thing, which would make sense in either case if it's just like either under Broken Arrow or like you said it's just sort of these weird side projects that eventually become Broken Arrow. The only thing I will say is if we place it in like the 60s and maybe the 70s, you could connect it to Romero, right? Maybe if there's
Mhm.
someone who's feeding Romero information, maybe it kind of went the other way and that's why they coined the term the zombie
Ah,
lab.
yeah.
Like but I mean obviously zombie was around before that, but he definitely popularized the term. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's where you could connect that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's also it, consider the possibility that like it was created even like during World War II, because considering like I mean the U.S. had all this 115, but they didn't really know how to do anything with it. They didn't have 935 on their side, but they were aware about zombies, right? Because they had the OSS spying on them, and they had people on the inside. So I mean, they could have been preparing eventually for Germany having that undead army, and like that's where they had like weapons testing on them, like
Yeah.
how strong zombies were and stuff. And then obviously after they won, they started taking those wonder weapons and testing them.
Yeah, I mean, it would make a fun map, like a first outbreak. But yeah, I imagine if there's 115, zombies would soon follow.
Hmm.
So it would make sense if there was some type of like zombie research division or something, because I'd imagine even just following like standard like science fiction tropes, like someone would have investigated, oh, what's this deposit, what's this strange element, and then they would become a zombie and blah 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 blah. So it would make sense that yeah, if they were aware of that back then they would have or they could have had some type of like special zombie division. But
Right. I do also another related kind of topic is when do we think that like the U.S. actually reached Griffin Station? Because we know, I mean, they were really pushing for it in 1963. Like
mhm.
they were pushing Schuster to get the moon teleporter working, and it seems like they did, but it was just he was sending like the the soldiers like through time, but they weren't, or yeah, they were getting sent to a different time, but they were getting sent to the right place.
Yeah,
So they
so
were
I guess
pretty
it's yeah.
close. Oh yeah, and then I mean, in classified, I think well, it's kind of confusing about like what time. If we don't know how exactly they got from classified to moon. Like, did Brickhoff have to do something to teleporter, or like
Mm.
did Schuster have like a final plan or something, and it was almost done?
Well, I
But
guess it
I don't.
explains it, right? If they when they go to classified and they go to what was it, the moon. So I guess what is it? When they teleport in classified or when they're at Groom Lake. That's supposed to be the 60s, but I guess when they teleport to the moon, they also go to the
Well, I
to
mean, in the like the Groom Lake in the map moon is also like in the daytime. So I always assumed that somehow maybe they altered the teleporter to send them to Groom Lake, but in 2025,
oh, okay.
maybe.
Because I was wondering
I don't know.
about that. Like, it would be an interesting connection to the story if, like, it explains the weird time shenanigans if they're also not only jumping in space but in time, and then
Mhm.
they've like retroactively kind of affected Groom Lake. And I guess that's kind of like why everything's all messed up because they somehow destroyed it in the future, but it affects the past Groom Lake. But
Right. And then I also wonder like why do they not seem like they're in control of the station by the time 2025 when we're playing Moon? Is it just like they just could not manage to take it over, or is like
yeah, I
there's some
guess
treaty between them and the Soviets saying, "Yeah, we're not touching this thing"? Like there's
it also makes me wonder about the moon landing. I mean, I'm assuming the zombie stuff operates on like such a high level of clearance that the space race happened almost like independently
Mhm.
of the basically the zombie teleportation space race, I guess. Um, because to me it seems like with Purnell, once that falls through, I think it basically just becomes like only those who know and have top level clearance are aware of it, but it's better to just sort of let bygones be bygones. I don't know, that's the way I interpret it. It just kind of dies with the site. Like, no one's messing with it. I guess Samantha's not bothering anyone, so you might as well just sort of let her stay up there
Yeah, that's a good point because I think yeah after classified or after the five incident, it's like I think McNamara says something like just yeah we're not. I know we're gonna form Broken Arrow to like fight Samantha, but okay, we're not doing that anymore. Like just don't bother her because like this she continues to endanger us, so we're not going to mess with her anymore. I guess
yeah.
that might be a thing also. Maybe
And
they like had a treaty with the Soviet Union not to go to the moon.
yeah, or I think like at least if they went to the moon, or I mean, like I said, maybe they're not even aware of it. But I'm guessing to some extent they're sort of aware of like sort of cat and mouse game between Richtofen and Samantha. So I wonder if they felt like she's really going after them. So it's not anything that, as long as we don't bother Samantha, she's not going to bother us. And then I guess if
Yeah.
they're in captivity, then it's like, okay, well, we have these guys under our watch, so we don't have to worry about anything, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I never even considered that. Yeah, that would be like why
Yeah,
you
why
don't
they
really
keep
hear from
them.
them again. Yeah,
Yeah, I bet you that they kept them prisoner to make sure that Samantha would never do anything.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. I never considered that.
and then they could probably do. And then, like I said, I think NASA, for the most part, is probably unaware. Because, I mean, it's
Mhm.
pretty clear that based on the campaign that the space race still happens and it's not being influenced by,
Right.
the
Well, that or not fake the moon landing, but they
mm.
teleport a man to the moon and then say and like, put him in some random space and say, "Oh, look, we landed on the moon." Okay,
I guess
no,
that could be
bye.
true. Yeah. I mean, at least we know from. I guess there's still some overlap between the Ascension group and Ascension, but like to some extent they seem to be able to separate the two. I don't know. Maybe it's easier to send someone in a rocket to the moon than deal with the teleportation because they're gonna
Right.
come back as a zombie, and who knows what timeline you sent them to. So
Our next topic is asking if the older Call of Duty games, so all the classics, ones not in the Black Ops series, not related to the, well, I guess not the new Modern Warfare game, which is directly connected to the new Black Ops games. It's very confusing. But the question is, are the older ones, the more standalone games, are they connected in some way? That's sort of our discussion. So, which ones do you want to start with? Just start at the beginning, I guess.
yeah, I guess start at the beginning, and I guess we. The one thing I wanted to say was I just found this out because I always thought I know there was an expansion I think to the first Call of Duty, but there was initially Call of Duty. The Call of Duty was made for PC. Then there was a console version of it, but it had its own storyline, like a separate story from the PC version. So I don't really know quite what to make of that. I think that was made by a different studio, but there seems to be in the first trilogy of COD games. They also had their spin-off games that didn't really follow the initial installment, and they may or may not have been made by different devs. I know one of which was Treyarch, so I don't know.
Right.
Like I said, I guess
We know for sure. So Call of Duty 1 and 2 has a cap and price. And then the implication seems, I think they imply in the old Modern Warfare trilogy that he is connected to that price. Like I think he's maybe his grandfather.
yeah, I think there was an article. I don't have it on me, but I'm more than certain.
Mm.
Um, it was said in an interview that that price is the um I think the grandfather of the Modern Warfare price in the original timeline. Not the reboot Modern Warfare series. I'd like to think it still carries over, but definitely for Modern Warfare 1, 2, 3 are set in, I guess, the same timeline as Call of Duty 1 and 2. And I guess what I was getting at earlier was the spin off games sort of accompany the first CODs, but I don't know if they're supposed to be in the same timeline. But at the very least, you can say Call of Duty 1 and 2 and Modern Warfare and Infinite Warfare are all, I think, in the same timeline.
Mm. What do you say? What do you say? Infinite Warfare as well.
I swear I heard in an interview too that Infinite Warfare is set in the modern. It's like in the distant, far, far, far distant future of the Modern
Okay,
Warfare timeline.
that's
Um,
interesting. Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that. I guess no Will Weiler. In
yeah, yeah.
Cold War. Well, no, but the Cold War does have Willard Wyler posters. So what do you say to that? Infinity Ward.
Well,
Chew on
uh,
that.
I guess they just say the timeline merge.
I'm on merge.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because we're looking at
Old
it right.
merge.
There's, I think, Finest Hour. So it originally goes in 2003. Call of Duty is released, and Finest Hour I think is the console spin-off one. If you
Mhm.
look that up, I'm trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a console. Yeah, but
Yeah, so that apparently has its own storyline. United Offensive, I think, is an expansion.
yeah,
So,
it
and
is.
then Call of Duty 2 comes out, and then
It is.
but Big Red 1 is a
Yeah,
spin-off made by
that's
Treyarch.
Yeah, their first
So
title.
yeah, so what
Virtual console.
what I don't know is Big Red 1 a precursor to like the Black Ops timeline? Is it?
Mhm.
I mean, I guess now if all the universes are, if everything's kind of merged back in one, and the reboot Modern Warfare is now in the Black Ops Cold War universe, I would imagine similar events happen. So I guess you could say in the new timeline, or the stitched together timeline, you have
Right.
you have the original Call of Duty series, and there's no need to make any discretion. But before the restitching of the universe, I guess you could say 1 and 2 are most definitely tied to Modern Warfare, and maybe 3 as well. Treyarch's spin-off
It's hard to
games,
say
yeah.
World War II just because it's all history tied, and it's like
Mm-hmm. Because
there's not like big world events you could say to connect them. Yeah.
because they could easily like from Call of Duty
Right.
1 to World at War, they could all be in the same universe. I would go with I would say before we get to the World at War, like Black Ops and Modern Warfare storylines, I would say they probably were divided up by dev studio. So I would think that whatever was made by Infinity Ward just goes into Infinity Ward, and maybe Treyarchs go into Treyarch. If not, it's a supplemental to Infinity Ward.
What do you think about Ghosts? I feel like Ghost is kind of the black sheep of Call of Duty games. Like it doesn't seem to fit anything.
Yeah, well,
So,
I mean, the other ones would be standalone. Would be World War II and Advanced Warfare, right? Because World War II is not in any way, shape, or form connected to Advanced Warfare, right?
Mm.
As far as I know.
it's as far as like direct connection. No, not really.
Yeah. So Ghosts is a weird standalone. I mean, if everything is tied to Call of Duty Zombies, and that the whole ether shenanigans kind of are like what created the multiverse, that's what I would just say, is that it's just a separate, after the events of Moon and the multiverse has been created, it's just Ghost is kind of just like its own fracture. You have the like Infinite Warfare or the Infinity Ward kind of timeline. Then you have the Advanced Warfare and World War II sort of timelines. That's kind of how I would put them. But yeah, it's weird that Infinity Ward created an installment that is not related to anything else they've ever done.
Yeah, no, it's also hard to connect.
Oh, I see Baker. I just saw there's a Baker in
There's a baker in every military thing. Honestly, that's just a good soldier name. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess Mick with Ghost. I just found out it takes place in 2023.
Huh.
Also, I got the impression that it's a somewhat like kind of apocalyptic, but I guess not.
Yeah, because that's what I always thought. That wasn't it. Like there's like some war. Is it in like South America or so? Or there's like some coalition, and then they use those like kinetic bombardment to hit the United States. I never really played the campaign in Ghosts. I did a little bit of the multiplayer, so sorry to anyone who really likes the campaign there. I'm not familiar. I just remember
Oh, okay,
something.
yeah. So it's an alternate timeline that follows the nuclear destruction of the Middle East.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's why South America's good. Yeah, I don't think you can connect that at all to the Modern Warfare game.
No, you can't unless it's
Especially
like
now.
unless it's like a spin-off of the Modern Warfare. But I'd say this though, it's its own fracture. It's the extinction and fracture.
Right. Yeah. And then let's see, like Infinite Warfare, Advanced. Oh no, Advanced Warfare. I don't think there's any ties in that either.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, right, if World War II leads into Advanced Warfare. I mean, there's nothing that would, at least to my knowledge, that would really contradict that, because
Yeah,
World War II.
I guess when you can't contradict it, you can at least just say it takes place somewhere.
Like if you want to neatly compact it, this is the Sledgehammer or the Sledgeverse or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I think Infinity Ward's the more like inconsistent. Pretty much all theirs are like you really can't tell, or like there's contradictions.
Well, I don't. I mean, I'm not an expert on the original development, but it seems to me that by the time we got to 4, the studios were able to inject their own. I don't want to say inject their own vision. I really don't know who came up with the the original Call of Duties. I mean, they could have all just like doing the World War II setting, but it does feel like 4 and 5 have a more personalized touch. Maybe because that's when Treyarch and kind of Infinity Ward, they were getting into their groove of sort of alternating. I think Ravensoft was even, I read, was assisting on some of the oldest CODs too. So
Yeah, they've pretty much been on everything.
yeah, so I don't know. It's weird because it's almost like the older Call of Duties are more Activision than anything specific because they just feel like just sort of those.
Well, it's basically like Infinity Ward made like this big, huge, like blockbuster game, Call of Duty, and then okay, now we have to make a new one every year, and it has to be just like the first one.
Well, did the
Then,
first? I don't remember. I always remember Big Red 1 because like the initial Call of Duties, I always link with like Medal of Honor and that whole era of just sort of World War II games. But Call of Duty didn't blow up until, I guess pun intended, till Modern Warfare, right? Like, wasn't that was the thing that put it
I
on
mean,
the map?
well, Call of Duty was big. I mean, when I say big, I don't mean like as big as Call of Duty is now, but like substantial, I suppose is a better word.
Mm.
Like it's not. It wasn't like Foes. It was huge. Like there was a reason they wanted it to be yearly.
Now, was it the thing that I don't remember was did those CODs, because they didn't have a multiplayer, was, I mean, they had it, right, but it wasn't like the selling point. To me, it seemed like the original ones were focused on the story.
One's definitely is pretty big. I think people still play it.
Oh,
like, on
interesting.
PC, but that's just because PC games
Yeah,
tend
it makes
to last
sense.
a long time.
I did not know that. It's so weird. I feel like there should be more reverence to the sort of trilogy, that whole first COD era, and it would be nice to see them get baked into the later series, because I mean,
Sure.
without them, where else would the others come from?
I'm gonna say Call of Duty 2. Best game of that era, I think. Our third topic of the night is about. Well, it's kind of a reference to one single quote from Revelations. It's a wisp from Monty, and it kind of brings up a little mystery. Dr. Monty says Takeo has a secret hobby. He does not speak of it for fear that he will be mocked. Here's the thing. We did talk about this before, but it was it was for Rush Mode that never came out because there was audio issues. But we kind of came to a little mutual understanding about it, so we're going to kind of go over our findings, basically, and the cute little narrative we came up with. So, Matt, do you want to kind of kick off?
Sure.
How we got the ball rolling on that?
Yeah. So the first thing about a secret hobby, although he's talking about Primus, and I'm thinking of Ultimus, but the first thing that came to mind was the stand-up comedy routine, and I forget what came first, the chicken or the egg. I know there's a quote in the later Black Ops games where Takeo says he needs some new lines for like his stand-up comedy routine, and I always think of that Gmod video where he's doing that, and I don't know if the Gmod video was was referencing an earlier quote, or if it was just a joke that then Treyarch kind of canonized. But to me, a secret hobby involving this sort of stoic samurai being this comedian kind of seems silly enough. But Rad, you brought up an interesting point, right, from Zetsubo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So in Zetsubo, right? Well, in most maps, the method of the activating like the secret Easter egg, right, is through teddy bears.
Mm-hmm.
But in Zetsubo, it's sock monkeys. And what's also interesting is that there's kind of like in a couple places in Black Ops 3, there's like the use of like toys, like in Samantha's room. But then in Gorod Krovi, there's like this area outside the map that you're not normally supposed to see, which has like a tea party with all the different different stuffed animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's almost like trying to say that they represent one of each character. And then I think even in one of the calling cards you get for completing all the Easter eggs even has those stuffed animals kind of floating through space. So I think that the sock monkey specifically represents Takeo because, well, Takeo always had this special connection to the monkey bomb.
Yeah, and they always called, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone always kind of refers to him as the monkey bomb. Like in Kino, Richtofen like looks at the painting of Takeo. He's like, "Oh, it's the monkey bomb." And then I think Nikolai also says something about him having relations with the monkey. And then Takeo's always sad when the monkey blows up. So he's always had this special connection to monkeys. And I always thought like if he had like this secret hobby he's embarrassed about sock monkeys, I was thinking maybe he knits sock monkeys. Like knitting seems like kind of a traditionally feminine thing that maybe he could have taken up and like could have been embarrassed about.
But it's also like a very like like there's certain I forget what the term is, but like certain sort of hobbies like that are almost like meditative. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
almost like
it's
he
very
could
fitting.
he could be doing that, and I guess that's where they see him and his little monkey. Um,
Mhm.
so and I guess we'd imagine that this is something that's shared between both Ultimus and Primus.
Right.
Because even though to Primus, but I mean Ultimus, but yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, does he have a stand-up comedy routine, or does he make sock puppets? And it's like, well,
Right.
they don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like, what if he makes sock puppets and does a little routine, to entertain children or something like that? And then that,
Right.
thus the idea was born that his secret hobby is he knits these sock puppets to entertain children with his little like kind
Right.
of funny comedy routine. So
Right. Right. And it ties into the very end of Ether whenever the every character is giving their final wishes at the end. And Primus Takeo, he says, "I see myself at peace, serene, sitting beneath a cherry blossom tree, listening to the joy of milk children at play." He's the only one that ever had any indication he cares about having children or cares about children at all. So, he's clearly cares a lot about family and children, and like passing on the family legacy. So I think him having a special connection to children and maybe making the little sock monkeys for them and doing a little comedy routine for the children, that seems very, very Takeo. I think that fits very well. It's a cute little narrative, I think.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this goes beyond headcanon. This is
Mhm.
just factually correct.
Oh yeah, no, I refuse to accept this is not canon. Um,
Because the pieces are just sewn together too well to have that be not the case.
exactly.
And it
Yeah.
gives them more depth too. There's a little more like there's the a sword, right? We talked about that in the previous one, and then we have the sock puppets. So I think it's nice to sort of pad him with more backstory, and it's not just like, oh, okay, he's the one character that
Right.
doesn't really do anything.
There's also I think I want to say him and Nikolai are like the ones that like in Origins they're very concerned about Samantha when she calls out and she's asking for help from within Agartha.
Hmm.
He's one of the ones that's pretty concerned with helping her. All around family man.
Yeah, there he is. He's just an
And
all
also,
around.
go ahead.
I was say he's just an all-around good guy. But those two stories, you could even further it, right? Like he has this possessed sword that drives one to bloodlust. He kills his family, now trying to make it up, right? By like I don't want to continue down that path to throw away all that bloodshed. So he will atone and
Well, see, I
and
was gonna say also the cherry blossom tree also has some significance apparently because Richtofen kind of mocks Ultimus Takeo in Alpha Omega.
mhm.
He kind of brings up his grandfather's cherry blossom tree, like says something about, and then Takeo says something about how he's disappointed in his grandfather, but his grandfather is also disappointed in him.
Where I went was if the sword was the grandfather, right? The grandfather's
Mhm.
sword, and the
Yeah.
those types of blades are cursed. Maybe it's like he sort of is like a young, hot-headed, brazen samurai tried to follow in that
Mm.
legacy and went down that path and then killed his family. And it's like, oh, this is my grandfather warned me about this. I made the same mistakes he did. So now like his repentance is, he wants to make things right and he'll start a
Right.
family of his own. And
Could
to
even be in the reverse that like he wasn't like as stalwart about the emperor as his grandfather was until obviously he got brainwashed by Richtofen and kind of became like this ultimate
well,
different version of himself.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. The grandfather. Let's see, because it's around World War II. Yeah, I'm just trying to think because what was it like the turn of the century was the Meiji Restoration, right? With the
Mhm.
where they sort of reinstalled. I mean, the emperor was still there, but like the as they became a sort of a democratic government, and the emperor kind of became the. I don't know exactly. I'm botching my history here on how much influence they did or didn't have. But the point is the shogun was thrown out. So maybe the grandfather was loyal to like the shogun and the emperor or something like that. I don't know. It's just If you want some disconnect between the two. Like he's like
Right.
the grandfather's like the real old way if he was in early 1800s, but
Right. Takeo's got some very interesting checkered past. Interesting quote. There actually is one quote that it does still haunt me. It's a quote in Alpha Omega. It's a weird quote from Premise Takeo. He uses the flamethrower. He's
Mhm.
like, it's Premise Takeo, and he's like, I promised I would never use a flamethrower on a crowd again. And then he pauses and he's like, what? It's like kind of funny, but it's also like, dang, Takeo, when did that happen?
It almost seems like a fourth wall break to me, right?
Yeah,
It's like a
man, what did you do? I guess, Japanese committed a lot of atrocities in World War II. I mean, presumably memories are kind of bleeding in. I don't know, but
maybe, yeah, maybe it's like a. Well, did you say was this Ultimus? Did you say, or is it Primus?
it was Premise for
Oh,
that.
never mind. Yeah, because I was gonna say if it was Ultimus, I mean, maybe Dempsey would get angry, but I mean, like, I can't imagine like a quote like that would get under the skin of any of them. So it would seem
Right.
more like a fourth
Yeah,
wall break.
it felt like a fourth wall break, like because Takeo is not like I don't think he's ever brought anything up like that before.
Yeah, I mean, a flamethrower. I mean, even isn't that sort of out of place, right? And I'm
For
not.
samurai.
Yeah, but I mean, they're from like the World War One era, right? Maybe I'm not an expert on flamethrowers, but
They were invented around World War One era, but I think they were they were actually kind of somewhat common, and especially they would probably be more common in
yeah. But is
the or
he's having like the World War Two one, right? I guess it doesn't make much of a difference at this point.
yeah, I don't know.
But
I'll drop that one, but
no, it was interesting. I didn't know
good
that.
Takeo talk, and yeah, we're gonna say that the sock monkeys are canon. I'm gonna go with that. Our final topic of the night and of the season. Bit of a goof. This is something that Matt's always wanted to talk about. It's about dinosaurs in zombies. So just kind of in general. It's just like we've been with aliens, we've had zombies, we have chaos had like werewolves and vampires. What else is next? What's next? Dinosaurs are the next logical step. So Matt, what are your ideas?
I feel like it's not even the next logical step. I feel like it's a misstep because how do you go for dragons to like you didn't even have dinosaurs yet? Like, I mean, I guess Infinite Warfare, it's not Ether, but they had Bigfoot and stuff. Like, I would have expected that to be a piece of zombies storyline. I always think, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be a mutated lizard, but the bios, if you go to the comic, there's one that looks like a raptor. And I swear it looks like a raptor. I don't care what anyone says. And the zombies dinosaurs wouldn't really be out of to Black Ops 3 when they're talking about resurrecting the dragons and they're basically like a Call of Duty version of Jurassic Park. And I mean the what was it, the Nazis were interested in the real life trying to breed back, it was like the Ice Age like oxen or something, I forget what it is, some type of cow. So it doesn't seem like it would be anything that would be too crazy or too out of place in the COD universe to have them, maybe have some project or something where they're just focused on bringing back a whole plethora of prehistoric life, especially with the elemental shard. I think the first time I thought about dinosaurs though was with Shangri-La, because you have sort of like the Naga statues and all the sort of the serpentine stuff, and I swore there was something in like the promos for it that said like unseen creatures, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. So I don't know, it's been there for so long, and I'm really surprised we haven't gotten like T-Rex or Bigfoot or something like that. I mean, if we get to the I don't know, it's disappointing, especially with the well, I guess the Ural Mountains map already came out, but there's the whole, is it Datlov? I forget the name, the pass incident.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
because that would be another perfect zombies tie-in, because they think it's like, the one theory that it's a Yeti attack, but then there's all the weird stuff where the hikers were found irradiated, so like some Sasquatch like infused with 115 or whatever it is, Ethereum would kind of be cool. Like, I don't know, they have so many opportunities to play with it, and just the weird Apothicon monsters that are out there, like just expand that with all the different, add like more monsters into the game would be kind of fun. I think
Yeah, I know. I'm a big dinosaur fan myself. Big Jurassic Park fan myself. I wish I could find. I did see recently there was someone saying they were working on a custom map for Black Ops 3. It was a Jurassic Park themed. Like they were asking like
Oh, that's really
scenes,
cool.
iconic scenes. I wish I could find it. Definitely go look for that. That'll come out eventually, I'm sure.
I think the game's dead, but if we're plugging anything, there was a really fun game called Dino D-Day. It was on the Source engine. I think it's only multiplayer, so I don't know how populated it is, but it's like Axis versus Allies, but the whole story is the Axis powers bring back dinosaurs, and they're weaponizing them to the point where you have, you know, what is it? You have like a T-Rex with like a mounted chain gun and stuff like that, and it's really not out of place in zombies. Like I know that it, this isn't like I don't think it's wishful thinking with what I'm saying. It's just you have the precedent of the interest in ancient civilizations, prehistoric life from the Nazis. I mean, I don't know how true this is. I mean, obviously there were expeditions to Tibet, but like some people were saying, oh, the Nazis were looking for like the Yeti, so because it's like an ancestor of the Aryan race, and I just think it wouldn't be that crazy. And when you have the elemental shard, you have the means to. Oh, did you find it?
Yes, I did. It's the ice grenade on Twitter. It seems like they're working on Jurassic Park map. They asked for some suggestions. Looks like they've been streaming and working on it. So go check them out. I can put a link to the description for their Twitter. Check that out. While we're talking about dinosaurs.
It's perfect. I mean, we have chaos and with werewolves and vampires. It's like I don't know. We got dragons, all that stuff before. Like to me, it would seem to be because if you're thinking about resurrecting prehistoric life, right? You could still make them zombified. I mean, that kind of fits with the zombie theme. These things have been dead for a while, so it's an easier sell, I think, than the other things we eventually got.
I do want to talk about. I mean, just storyline implications. What we know. We do know the first one used the summoning key.
Yes.
Something about making life in all the dimensions.
Mm.
So, what led from Keeper to Dinosaur? I guess the teeth is there.
Yeah, it's true. Or the dinosaurs are evolved. Maybe the dinosaurs evolved into keepers, and that's where they went.
Are they corrupted? Was it a big 115 meteor that wiped them out?
Yeah.
A
115. See, I was always thinking the Cretaceous extinction event would be a chaos map, but yeah, now we have the that would be a fun ether map 115. I think it'd be cool to kind of go like all out like kaiju, and you have like dinosaurs and prehistoric monsters fighting like apothecon creatures. It's like a war and invasion. And then
I love when they play with scale like that in the maps. So that would be right up my alley.
Yeah, it just could be in the background. Nothing really, it's just this giant sort of like, creature coming from a portal, and then you have like a giant dinosaur. It's why not? Come on, at this point. I stand by it. That and Bigfoot. I think it'd be fun to just have more cryptids in the
for sure.
In this storyline, because I mean they're kind of like what was I gonna say? They like some cryptids fit the oh my god, I can't think of the denizens kind of motif. Some weird government experiment like Chupacabra or whatever. So it just I don't know. Just there's a lot of stuff like that I think plays into the zombie storyline well enough with all these weird experiments.
I like how everything's tied in and it's like a overarching storyline over the course of a game. But I do remember before Cold War came out, we were speculating about what the story would be, and then it's like one of the ideas was just it could just be like every map as a whole different like setup and story, and it's like they could have threads connecting them, but they're not necessarily like concerned with an overarching story. You could have a map dedicated to like cryptids that are being studied by this this strange organization, and you have like Bigfoot or whatever, and then you could have one that's focused on bringing back the dinosaurs. It's just you can kind of go crazy with that because you don't have to worry about this. Like it's like with Mob, like you don't worry about how the ghosts and stuff doesn't really fit the overall story you've already been telling, like the Nazi conspiracies and all that. But you know. But yeah, I think that's definitely something I wish we could have had. I don't know if we would have it in today's.
Yeah, I mean, I think
What
I, I know I made the joke, sort of partly joking, about what if they come back and like in the reboot of Dinosaurs or something like that. I mean, they could still be zombified. I think to some extent you would need zombies still because I think people are expecting a zombies mode, and even though it has dinosaurs, I don't know if it would just be they'd be like, oh, this is just like extinction again, where this isn't what we want. But it would be neat, yeah, if the reboot storyline had them go in a completely different direction with something like that. But I think there's room for more things like Division 9, and like you said, there has to be other stuff. That's what I liked about Chaos, where they sort of incorporated all the different pantheons and things, and they just sort of opened the door up for so many places that you could go. Which is why I kind of hope Ether and Chaos are interconnected, because it just allows the universe to have a lot of breathing room, but you can still kind of put brackets on your favorite stories, but kind of explore new things, then maybe sort of take concepts but kind of put them in a new light. Like, oh, well, what if they use the elemental shard to resurrect X, Y, Z, instead of just standard zombie stuff. But I don't know. It's long overdue. I really hope it's in the game. I think Battlefield always teased some dinosaur stuff. I don't know if it,
Yeah.
was it like, I know there was the Megalodon, but like, was it just fan reaction thinking it was going to be a dinosaur mode?
I think so. It was like a character that had like a dinosaur toy, 'cause it was
yeah.
his sons, and then they hid a dinosaur on the Wake Island map, and then
Yeah.
people just assumed it was a teaser for zombie map. I mean, a dinosaur map.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
see that upsets me because it was like, oh, I thought that was going to be the competitor to zombies. Maybe it's coming out in the new one. Maybe we predicted it, but like, it's like you have zombies and you have dinosaurs. So at this point, someone has to do dinosaurs. Like, it's not.
Yeah, the dinosaur game genre is just not being used enough, honestly.
Dino D-Day I thought was really clever, and it's just sad that it's just I don't know, maybe I don't think it's gotten any updates. So it would be nice to actual successor, and I think COD Zombies would be fun because I've always liked maps that have special types of infected. I think that gives each map like personality, and I think that's all part of the reason why some of the more recent Dark Ether maps were kind of eh. Like I felt like Vietnam, Firebase E didn't really utilize the setting as it could have. So.
It's more, yeah, I understand that. It's more focused on like kind of it's just overall Cold War, but I appreciate like the Black Ops 1 kind of method of
Yeah.
map as its own like big different thing.
Because
It's focused on what it is.
I mean, the D Machina has the Nazis, and like it's in the 80s, so to have the remnants from the Vietnam War is even more plausible. And it's like when you just see the concept art from Black Ops 1 about the sort of did they say it was like the martial artist zombie? I don't think they said it was like Muay Thai or something, but then you had
I think the map was originally called the Jungle, and it was Vietnam map, and I think that became Shangri-La.
Yeah, oh no, I'm more than certain it did. They even had I mean, it was incorporated into Dead Ops, but like a bull. Like, I think one of the most missed opportunities is to take animals and make them into zombies.
Yeah, true.
That's like that would be so fun to play with infected wildlife. Bears, tigers. I mean, the tigers in 9. So I just think dinosaurs, Bigfoot, things like that. It adds so much personality to a map. It doesn't even have to be all like you're killing raptors 24/7, but just to have some type of aesthetic would be really cool.
That wraps up our topics for the night, and that wraps up this season of Rush Mode. You enjoyed the episode, give us a like and subscribe for more videos in the future. We're kind of and when the next Rush Mode season will come out. But go ahead and leave your suggestions for topics in the comments. Eventually we'll be able to look at those. So, any closing words for our humble troops or whatever it is?
I don't know. All I'll say is this is probably one of the 2 hills that I'm willing to die on. That and the Chaos Ether connection, I think. But I'm willing to die for this. Metaphorically speaking.
All right. Well,
yeah, I guess that's it. We're done.
See ya. Why are you still here? Anyway, good talking. See ya.